So my name is Melissa Kitty Jarram, and I'm an illustrator and artist based in London. And on the screen behind me, you'll be able to see examples of what my work looks like and various projects that I've worked on. But I'm here to talk to you today mainly about my project with Anna Ginsburg. She is an amazing animator and director, and we produced a film called Ugly, which was a depiction of the poem by Walton Shire. So, I saw Anna's work on Instagram, and we kind of fangirled each other a little bit. But then, when I met her in real life, it was at a pub and through mutual friends. And I think I broke my arm, and so everyone was writing on my cast, and they did the classic, like, drawing penises on it, and Anna came along and drew a vagina, and then that's when I knew, like, she's my kind of girl. So we started talking to each other about how much we liked each other's work and what we liked about it, and then decided that we wanted to do a collaboration. The journey began. So I thought that she wanted to use my digital illustrations because that would have been so much easier. But then she was like, no, what she liked about my work were my paintings. And I was like, okay, well, that's absolutely mental. How can you reproduce them digitally? And so she did a test, and this was the result. And as you can see, it's kind of like Spot the Difference, except everyone would lose because there is absolutely no difference. So the talent that she had really got me excited when I saw this. And then we produced a test to see if it could work. As you can see, she really made my paintings come to life, which was something that I really had no idea anyone could do. And so then we started talking about what we could do with this project. And initially we were thinking, let's make a bunch of GIFs, which kind of then evolved into making short stories about stuff, but then eventually evolved into the idea of animating a poem. So we, neither of us being poetry fanatics, started going through loads of poems and landed on Wild Geese by Mary Oliver, which actually meant a lot to Anna. And it was full of really beautiful imagery about nature and coming to terms with solitude and being okay with yourself. So this also rang really true for feelings that I had too. So we started working on that. And Strange Beast Production saw the test, and they got interested because she'd worked with them several times before. And really kindly, they offered us a budget to work with, so they offered to fund it for us. But the problem with that, although we were obviously really psyched and grateful for it, was that we had to then get rights to use the poem. So they put together this amazing treatment and sent it over to Mary Oliver's agent, who replied with a very short email saying no, basically. So Anna and I were a bit gutted about this, but we were thinking, this can't let us stop the project. We're going to have to try everything we can. And Anna's cousin from America was really resourceful and managed to find her home address for us. So we were like, okay, well, why don't we just send her a letter and propose the project and send some original paintings? And these were the paintings that we sent, and I hand-painted the envelope. And we were really excited about sending it off. On a Thursday morning, on January the 17th, I went to the post office, and off it went. And I sent the videos of it literally leaving our hands. And later on in the afternoon, breaking news, Mary Oliver died that day. So we were just like, oh my God, is this our fault? What's going on? Or are we being punked? I was searching for Ashton Kutcher. But so really that was the end of that. And she was really disheartened. And I was thinking, this can't be, we can't let this stop us. Let's go back to the drawing board and find another poem, which Anna did. And she found this amazing poem called Ugly by Worcestershire. And Worcestershire is an award-winning British poet who was born to Somali parents in Kenya. And a lot of her work was about being, like, the experience of being a migrant, 'cause she moved to the UK. And the problems and difficulties she had with integration, especially from a woman's perspective. So this poem, I think it was a bit difficult because it was quite serious and sad, but it did have an uplifting ending, and it covered topics like, it was really empathetic to the experience of what it was like being a migrant. But on top of that, it questioned perceptions of beauty, and above all, I think on a wider scale, it was kind of dealing with trauma and how trauma can really destroy your confidence and make it hard for you to sort of get on with life, and then make you feel really, really bad, like self-confidence issues and things like that. But in the end, it had quite an uplifting ending, which is that there's a lot of beauty in strength. So we decided to go with this, and again, we had to approach her agent. So we sent the treatment over, and her agent replied saying, no. And we were like, okay, let's try and email her and contact her directly. So we did that, and no reply. We slid into her DMs on Instagram, and it was always like unread. But luckily, I was looking at her profile, and I noticed that it was a business profile, which meant that her phone number was on there. So I clicked on it, and I noticed that it's a number from LA, which is where she lives. So I was like, what the hell, I'll text her. So I texted her this message, proposing our idea and the reasons why we really wanted to work with her and use this poem in particular. And she got back to me straight away, and she was like, this sounds great, I'd love to work with you, let me speak to my agent, but how did you get my number? So I had to explain, like, oh, I'm a massive stalker, and I found it on Instagram. And she was like, well, thanks so much, and removed it immediately. So we began the project, and we worked really closely together. I don't know if you can see these pictures very well, because they're sketches from my sketchbook. So Anna and I were going through all the imagery, and together we sort of formed ideas on how it was going to look and what was going to happen. So I did a lot of drawings and sent them over to Anna, who then turned them into an animatic. And after we did this, the problem then was coloring, which was literally like solving a Rubik's Cube. So I don't work sequentially. I'm usually like working with still image, but it was my job to do the style frames and the paintings. So I found it really difficult then to sort of develop color that would flow from one scene to another but still look good. Because in one painting it could look great, but then as the shapes sort of change, the balances of color change too. And so we found it really difficult to sort of sort that out. And in the end, I was like repainting things, which was taking ages, until we remembered that there was a paint bucket tool. So we used the stills from the animatic, and together with Becky from Strange Beast, who is one of the producers, the three of us would sort of go through them all and discover which ones we liked, which ones we didn't like, which ones worked. And this made it really easier for me to sort of go ahead and then paint the scenes. So to give you a perspective on how much work went into it, I did close to 100 original paintings, give and take, and they all took an average of about 5 hours to make. And then on the animation side, the more intricate frames could take up to an hour to color digitally. So with 12 frames a second, that's 12 hours to make 1 single second of animation. At this point, so Anna and I weren't making any money from this. We had jobs that we had to do on the side to support ourselves. And I do some engineering work on the side. I was booked out for a field trip to go and collect like magnetic data on oil and gas pipelines. And this was right in, like, towards the end of the project, so that cut my timeline short so much, and my life became like just waking up and painting. And I had to choose between waking up and having a shower or having breakfast. And I often chose breakfast, so I stank a lot. But also Anna had her own gourmet issues at the time. So as we all know, rat is short for Rathu, which incidentally rhymes with rat poo. And this is a really iconic moment in the process of our filmmaking. So we were working late in the studio, a lot. And Anna accidentally ate a bit of rat poo, and we panicked. But it was okay because, I mean, it's not there, but I made a meme about it, which is pure scientific evidence that rat poo was solely responsible for the success of our film. So because this topic, the poem that we were working on was dealing with something that was so intimate to the writer, but also with the current refugee crisis, I felt like, or all of us felt like there was something more we could do with it. So we didn't want our screening to be about our film in particular, and we wanted to give a platform to other artists, especially like migrants and refugees, to be able to show their work and talk about it in a wider context. So thanks to Sam Gray from Strange Beast, he helped us organize this event for our screening. And really kindly, the Trampery on Old Street lent us their venue for free. So we sold it as a ticketed event, and we managed to raise a lot of money for Counterpoints, which is an amazing charity. But before that, these were the films that we showed as well. You should check them out, definitely. They're all about the experience of what it's like to be a refugee or migrant and integrating in society. So Counterpoint Arts is a leading national organization in the field of arts, migration, and cultural change. And their mission is to support and produce the arts by and about migrants and refugees, seeking to ensure that their contributions are recognized and welcomed within British arts, history, and culture. And I feel like art is really at the heart of culture and a really useful tool to communicate different perspectives. And by doing that, you know, we can challenge opinions, and it helps us begin to understand other people. And at the risk of sounding super cliche, I really believe that helping people understand things better might ultimately help us all treat each other better as well. So the film was shown at screening in Glastonbury Festival. It was shown at our screening, and at an event that was organised by Print Club London in Somerset House in support of a charity called Choose Love, which was again a charity supporting the refugee crisis. And here is our film.
Ugly. Your daughter is ugly. She knows loss intimately, carries whole cities in her belly. As a child, relatives wouldn't hold her. She was splintered wood and seawater. She reminded them of the war. On her 15th birthday, you taught her how to tie her hair like rope and smoke it over burning frankincense. You made her gargle rose water, and while she coughed, said, "Ma'anto, girls like you shouldn't smell of lonely or empty." You are her mother. Why did you not warn her? Hold her like a rotting boat and tell her that men will not love her if she is covered in continents, if her teeth are small colonies, if her stomach is an island, if her thighs are borders. What man wants to lie down and watch the world burn in his bedroom? Your daughter's face is a small riot. Her hands are a civil war, a refugee camp behind each ear, a body littered with ugly things. But God, doesn't she wear the world well?